In November 2014, I did a video called Pink Ribbon Witchcraft. And in this, I talked about how they perform witchcraft by attaching a symbol to an idea or a plan that they have, a ritual that they're trying to do. And people buy into this symbol. And by doing so, they participate in the ritual. And I highlighted the cancer awareness, breast cancer awareness pink ribbon ritual in this particular video. I want to talk about how the fallen angels who mated with women and bore giants in the land, as is written in the Bible, as well as in the book of Enoch, and the conversation that Enoch had with the fallen angels and with the Father in regards to their petition after they had realized their great sin and could no longer participate in the realm of the heaven, the third heaven, where Father is. And I want to draw your attention to two things. First, we find in Enoch chapter 7 that these giants, the offspring of the fallen angels, had an insatiable appetite. And in verse 1 of chapter 7, we read, "And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives." Now this is referring to the fallen angels. "And each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them," meaning to have sexual intercourse. "And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they," the women, human women, "became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 eels, who consumed all the acquisitions of men," meaning everything that man would sow into the ground, their fruit trees, their plants. They consumed all of the acquisitions of men. "And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind." So the giants then, after eating everything the men could provide for them, they turned on the men and began to eat them as well. Verse 5 says, "And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh." Many believe that when they began to sin against birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish, it doesn't talk about eating them. It talks about crossbreeding them. And then it says, "And to devour one another's flesh," meaning that they turned and cannibalized one another, "and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones." Now this takes me to chapter 10. When I read that they had turned against one another, when I read this in chapter 10, I am reminded of chapter 7. Now chapter 10, I'm just going to read one verse, verse 9. But if you will read chapter 10, this is the conversation that the angels, the four primary angels, had with the Lord, with our Father, and asking, "Father, what are we to do about this situation?" They saw what was happening on the earth, the crimes that were being committed against mankind by these offspring of the fallen angels, and they went to Father and asked Father what were they to do. And he gives them all a list of instructions, each of the four angels. But I want you to pay particular attention to the instructions that he gives to Gabriel. And we find that in verse 9. And he says, "And to Gabriel, said the Lord, proceed against the bastards and the reprobates." Now that's the bastards and the reprobates. Bastards being children without a father, and reprobates being the results of that. "And against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication, and the children of the watchers from amongst men. Now this is what I want you to pay attention to. And cause them to go forth, send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. For length of days shall they not have. Now I'm reminded of the scripture in Matthew where Jesus is talking about how a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. It will fall. This is how Satan's kingdom falls. He devours himself. He eats his own. Just as the scriptures that I just read to you out of Enoch is referring to. How they first physically cannibalized one another when they had eaten everything that man could provide for them, and then eaten man too. Then they began to sin against the birds and fish and beasts, reptiles, and then they turned and devoured each other. They cannibalized each other. And then in chapter 10 we read that the Lord told Gabriel to go and incite them, proceed against them, incite them against one another, that they may destroy one another. This is what I see happening here. Now, this Breast Cancer Awareness Society, using witchcraft in order to bring in all of this money, has now been brought forth as a scam. That's right, brothers and sisters. Cancer charity crackdown on CNN. I'm not going to play this. I will put links in the description box. But the FCC, I believe the Federal Trade Commission says 4 cancer charities run by extended members of the same family conned donors out of $187 million from 2008 through 2012 and spent almost nothing to help actual cancer patients. And one of these that is being charged as being fraudulent is the Breast Cancer Society, which uses the pink ribbon witchcraft. Here's all that you want to read, if you want to read, if you're even bothered with it or not bothered with it, if you even care about it. The only thing I care about is showing confirmation that they are turning against one another. We know that the federal government is part of the beast system, and they are now going to devour this breast cancer awareness stuff. And to me, it's just a prime example of what we just read, Gabriel's instructions to incite these fallen offspring against one another. So you've got the satanic kingdom destroying the satanic kingdom, just like Jesus said. All right, well, this is not a message from the Lord for any of you who are saying that, oh, she's a liar. She just said she wasn't going to. The last message she gave was, what she gave. Well, this isn't a message. I'm just bringing your attention and confirming what the Father has said, that they would destroy one another. Pink ribbon witchcraft. Outrage continues. Breast Cancer Society. Pink ribbon. Now, I also want to share with you, I think this is pretty cool. So I went to the Breast Cancer Awareness website. I'll just type that in here for you. www.breastcancersociety.org, and where there used to be all kinds of information on this website, now there is only a letter of tucking our tail between our legs and running. While the organizations, its officers and directors have not been found guilty of any allegations of wrongdoing, and the government has not proven otherwise, our board of directors has decided that it does not help those who we seek to serve and those who remain in need for us to engage in a highly publicized, expensive, and distracting legal battle around our fundraising practices. So they're not going to fight it. They're just going to walk away quietly after they have built 187 million people, or $187 million out of people who only wanted to do good. The beast is going to destroy itself, brothers and sisters. We just sit back and watch.